Have you experienced guilt tripping by your parents? Unfortunately, if you're Indian, I'm sure you have.
Is this how you repay us after everything that we have done for you? Do you even have any respect for us?
I just got chills. But it must be healthy if our parents do it right. Right? Right? Well, short answer no. It is a form of manipulative parenting, which ranges from guilt tripping to gaslighting to emotional blackmail. And I got receipts, son. And it's also not an isolated issue only in one part of the world. Manipulative parenting can be seen everywhere. And when I say manipulative parenting, it sounds like the parents are evil and they know what they're doing. But most of the times, they have no clue. So then why do they do it? Why is it more common in South Asian parents, especially Indian parents? And most important, what is the outcome? What does it do to the child? How does it affect their psychological development and who they become? Does it really help as intended? Or does far more damage than we think? I have all the answers. All I need is your watch time.
Give it to me!
Because I looked it up, so you don't have to. When we are kids, our parents are all knowing heroes for us. They aren't some flawed human beings figuring this parenting thing out while also dealing with their own shit. And to be fair to the kids, they are all they have, their parents. And it is an extremely important job. Maybe the most important job of all, shaping a human being. Realistically, a child will be influenced by many things while growing up. But the single most important thing that will have a lasting effect on their identity will be parenting. And keep in mind, I'm not talking about affecting what kind of person they will become. Sure, that will be influenced in part by parenting, but no parenting can ensure that. I am only focusing on how parenting affects the psyche of a child, how it helps or hinders their psychological development. If it gives them the confidence to fight with the world, or it takes away their ability to stand up for themselves. Both are true. Warm, open communication and respect on one side, and manipulation on the other. And both types of parenting are done by parents who love their child. Mostly. But what is manipulative parenting? Well, manipulation is influencing or controlling the other person to meet your needs. And guess what? Often parents too want to control their child. And so it is not surprising that they start using manipulation tactics, most of the times without even realizing what they're doing. What are these tactics? Well, I have introduced you to one already, guilt tripping. Guilt is an unpleasant, resentful feeling that we get because of a certain action we did or did not do. When we feel guilt, we know we have done something wrong. That doesn't sound really bad, does it? If we don't know we have done something wrong, then how will we ever change? And you're right, it is a very valid, significant emotion. Guilt is needed for growth and especially to be better socially, so that when you hurt someone, you feel guilt about it and you learn. But there are two types of guilt, adaptive guilt and maladaptive guilt. This is where the story gets interesting. Parents often want to make their children feel bad about a certain action so that they don't repeat that in the future. And guilt is a valid contender of a way to achieve that. And interesting enough, it's not wrong. If you hit another child, you need to feel guilt. And I mean you as a child hitting another child, not you as an adult hitting another child. Then you need a lot more than guilt. You need an award. Joke. But yeah, what's so wrong in using guilt as a parenting device? Why am I being a bitch and blabbering all about it here? Well, because it's mostly the wrong type of guilt being used. The necessary guilt that I was talking about earlier is adaptive guilt, guilt that helps you grow, adapt, which is necessary for social intelligence. But what most parents end up doing, and Indians, you will find it very relatable, is that they give you out of proportion guilt or make you feel responsible for their emotional state. Is this why I stayed at home and sacrificed my life for you so that you don't even finish a glass of milk? Is this why I kill myself at work so that you can go and play with your friends? And often for things not in their control, like how much marks they got in an exam. I sacrificed my life for these results. You will say, oh, that is in their control. But no, studying for the exam is in their control, not how much marks they get after that. These are all maladaptive guilt, where rather than inducing a reasonable guilt on the child, which will help them improve, parents induce irrational guilt. That doesn't say, hey, what you did was wrong and you could do this instead, but rather says, you are wrong and a disappointment. You see how they are different. And that is how they affect the child too, in very different ways. Where adaptive guilt can help in growth, maladaptive guilt is associated with internalizing problems, anxiety, and depression. I am coming to that very soon. But guilt tripping is not one and all for the connoisseurs of manipulation parenting. They often partake in gaslighting. We are doing this for your own good. Really sure doesn't feel like it. For your own good. Okay. Conditional affection. Notice your dad being warm only after you behave a certain desirable way. Emotional blackmail. I shouldn't even have to say anything here. And forced comparison, where you are compared to some irrelevant being in your vicinity. All of these fall under manipulative parenting. And it brings more than just resentment for the parents. It plays with the psychological and identity development of the child. Imagine loving and depending parents who are also the source of emotional harm. That leads to internal conflict in the child. They learn early that the only way to keep mental peace is to suppress emotional needs entirely. And then they also end up doing the same thing in relationships later in their life, as I did. See, children already have much lesser cognitive resources than adults, and thus are much more likely to accept the responsibility for the distress of others. And then you add up high or inappropriate guilt tripping by parents on top of that. That sort of parenting constantly invalidates child's emotions because your parents know better about you apparently. Instead of teaching the child how to feel and face any emotion, they end up teaching them how to avoid any unacceptable emotion. And what is unacceptable? Whatever they tell you. These kids end up constantly doubting themselves and develop people-pleasing tendencies. A very common outcome is difficulty in setting boundaries in adulthood. These are hitting too close to home for me. Now focusing on South Asian countries, these words from our parents hold much more weight to them since there are common cultural ideals such as obedience, family honor, parental sacrifice, respect for elders attached to them. It is difficult to tell manipulation from love in such a society. Disagreement is easily silenced by labeling them as ungrateful or disrespectful. You learn to not question authority. So, more often than not, children follow through, even when it might not be the healthiest thing for their emotional well being. And the parents themselves are part of this intergenerational trauma system. They are only doing what they have learned, what they themselves faced as kids. They think they're building strength or discipline, but they just end up stripping the child off of their self worth. Care starts to feel like obligation, indecisiveness, emotional over responsibility, suppressed anger. Tell me some of you don't find these things familiar. What won't be familiar is someone telling you how to deal with all of this. some of you right now are going, you think parenting is easy, then you do it for yourself and see. I am not here to blame someone. I'm here to inform. These are all findings from research, and all the sources are down in the description. Awareness is the first step. And if you think about it, it's insane that we need to go through different research papers just to tell if we are being emotionally manipulated or loved. Emotional education has to be a priority in our education system. But that seems to be like a far-fetched idea in the current reality. And so, the parents have to rise up to the occasion. It is their responsibility to teach their kids what should not be done to them emotionally, rather than making them a free-for-all emotional test ground. But to do that, they need to break out of this cycle of generational trauma that ties them into this loop of sacrificing self-autonomy over generations. When you are upset with your kids, or anyone for that matter, ask yourself, how would you like to be treated in this situation? Work on communication, explain your frustration, and ask them to change the problems that bother you. Trust them to trust you. If you are not going to trust them, they will never really trust you. See, it's not just about the immediate behavior outcome you want from the child. You also have to consider that the style of parenting you choose will impact their psychological well-being throughout their lifespan. It's already tough out there as it is. Give them a head start, not a setback. A strong, supportive parent-child relationship plays a crucial role in developing children's healthy emotional responses. The people who are watching this video are either people who have experienced this manipulation by their parents or got a pretty lucky end of the stick by having an overall healthy parenting. My message is to the people who did not get that lucky end of the stick. Do not pass it down. And this message is to all of you watching right now, regardless of the parenting style you inherited. Like this video, subscribe, share, and if you have any issues with whatever I said in this video, drop a comment down below and help me with my engagement. Not the marriage engagement. Engagement like viewer engagement, YouTube engagement. I want that audience engagement.